It's a beautiful day, so let me tell you about the most unkillable son of a bitch in the Continental Army. Israel Putnam. Connecticut farmer, nobody's idea of a soldier when this shit starts. By the end of his life, though, his resume reads less like a biography and more like just a bunch of dares that he kept saying yes to. Going back to the start of the story, there's a wolf loose in Pomfret, Connecticut. It's been terrorizing the county for years. Missing toes on one foot from an old trap, and she keeps coming back every single fall with a new litter. Well, one night she finally goes too far. 70 sheep and goats dead in a single night on Israel's farm. So Israel and his neighbors track her for miles through fresh snow with a pack of dogs, and they finally corner her in her den in some solid rock, barely 2 feet wide. Every sane option runs out pretty quickly, so Putnam strips off his coat, ties a rope around his legs, lights a torch, and crawls into the hole in the ground. So he's in this hole, he can't really see the end of it, and he's chasing after an animal that's already proven that she would rather die than get caught. First trip, just to find her, comes back out. Second trip, goes in with a musket, finds her crouched in the back of the den, eyes lit up like coals in the torchlight, and shoots her dead in a space too small to fully raise the damn gun. Third trip, drags the body out by hand. That's pretty much the story that made him a legend before the war even started. Most men would have just waited it out, sat it out, knew where it was coming from, set traps, whatever, but Israel wasn't that guy. During the French and Indian War, the 7 Years' War, the Mohawk warriors fighting alongside the French capture Putnam, and it doesn't really go all that great for him. They tie his ass to a tree and start stacking firewood at his feet. They were going to burn him alive right there on the spot, 20 years before anybody's even really heard the name Israel Putnam outside of Connecticut. He was getting ready to get lit up. It starts raining. And it starts raining hard enough to keep drowning the fire out before it really takes. And in the chaos, a French officer steps in and just stops the execution before they take any more shots at it. That's it. That's how close this entire story almost didn't happen. A rainstorm. And a stranger's conscience stood between Israel Putnam and getting erased from history. Obviously, he survives that, keeps on fighting. Later on, he survives a goddamn shipwreck off the coast of Cuba. Pretty much at this point, he notices he's wearing plot armor and some shit's about to go down. By the time the actual revolution kicks off, he's a middle-aged farmer out working in his field. When word reaches him that shots have been fired at Lexington and Concord, he didn't finish the row. He didn't go home to change. Left the plow in the row and just got on a horse and hightailed it 100 miles straight to Cambridge just to get in the fight. The plow actually became a tourist attraction. People traveled to go stand in the field and stare at the spot where a farmer decided that war was a lot more important than food. And he's still not done being reckless. Later, caught by surprise near Greenwich, Connecticut, badly outnumbered by British dragoons, nowhere to run, he points his horse at a... Real quick, this has taken me like fucking 15 times. He points his horse at a set of steep stone steps, nearly straight down. The kind of terrain that would probably kill a horse and the rider. Not fun riding conditions. The British reached the top and stopped because following him down probably means we're gonna die if we do it. Putnam had already made peace with that type of math before they did, so they just let him go. Not worth it, chips, to the moment which made him a household name. That one's June 17th, 1775. Everyone calls it Bunker Hill. Almost none of the fighting actually happened on Bunker Hill. The real bloodbath was next door on Breed's Hill, and it's Putnam who is credited for pushing for that spot instead. It was closer to Boston, was more exposed, because the man wanted a fight that the British couldn't really ignore. Colonial troops dig in, they barely got any ammo. Thousands of British regulars still marching straight up the hill in tight formation, and every raw nerve and untrained militia is screaming to fire early. And that's when the order goes out. Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes. Nobody knows who said it. Point of the matter, everybody credits Israel Putnam for saying it. Who knows? History's history and chaos is uncontrollable. Colonel Prescott was the one physically standing in the redoubt with men while the fire was coming in. Some accounts have Putnam giving the order first and Prescott just repeating it down the line. Some Prussian officers had been saying the exact version of this exact phrase for decades before a single American ever did. And there is an even uglier footnote. Like years after the war, a rival general publicly called him out, saying he was safely 100 yards back from the fighting on a quiet hill while Prescott's men actually bled for that redoubt. It blew up into a full national argument in the newspapers. The entire country fighting over whether Israel was a war hero or just a chicken shit. And living the rest of his life out wearing somebody else's credit. Nobody ever fully settled it, but what is known is the fucking order worked. American troops held their fire until the British got close enough and opened up at nearly point blank range. The first wave absolutely shredded. The second wave, same boat, different paddle, got absolutely shredded. The third assault happens, the colonists finally running dry on powder before the British took that hill. But I'm telling you, they paid in blood for every step. Over 1,000 British casualties taking a hill from farmers and tradesmen and no training and even less ammunition. The British had taken the ground, but they also understood something a lot bigger. Finally, who knows, maybe Putnam said the words, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was in the redoubt taking fire. He was safe on the hill behind it while other guys are taking shots in his name. Who knows, but the legend got stapled to his name. Old Put walked out of the war as one of Washington's first 4 major generals, appointed by a unanimous vote of Congress. So yeah, even so, if he said it or didn't, the guy had already survived like spelunking into a wolf den, almost getting burned alive at the stake, a shipwreck, and a horse riding down the side of a fucking cliff before the revolution had even fired its first shot. And that's why they nicknamed him like somebody's cranky ass grandpa.